Hello, David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. I am really excited about this video. We have to talk about the Dopp kit. Now, from a cultural standpoint, not all of you call it a Dopp kit. Some of you call it a wash bag. A rose by any other name would still hopefully smell as sweet as what we're going to be talking about. Because the Dopp kit has two very important functions, whether it's for you or a fictional character like James Bond. First of all, it's to really protect the rest of your luggage from your toiletries, those things that can spill and cause smells and hygiene. You want to protect the rest of your luggage, so this acts as a bag or a kit to do that. The other thing is, and this is the real crux of what we're going to be talking about today, it's to organize yourself. It's to keep everything in its place so it's easy to grab, easy to get to. Where did this all begin? We've got to talk about its humble beginnings. So Charles Dopp and Company, Charles Dopp, get it? Dopp kit, all right? Started out 1911. This was a gentleman who started with a very simple leather bag. It was a leather bag that could open. It was waterproof on the inside, leather on the outside. Came in a few colors, not a ton of them, and literally when you zip it up, you could put it into a relatively flat space. Now that was a cool little thing to organize everybody's pieces and parts, but he got a big break. Yes, Charles Dopp, the Dopp kit was actually purchased by the Army. And the Army in the Second World War gave these out to all of their men. And they got used to this. You know, they needed something in their pack to really keep everything fresh, clean, and waterproof and organized, right? Organized. So what happened was, as many things when people go off to war, they get used to these things. They become habits. So they brought back these Dopp kits and boom, an explosion of Dopp kits was formed, and then we've never looked back. There's all different types of forms. So when we talk about James Bond and we talk about people like David Zaritsky, we've got to talk about kind of two different worlds, because let's talk. First of all, we do have some examples of James Bond's sort of Dopp kit, if you will. We've got the Skyfall one. Now with Skyfall, if you remember, we did a whole video on this. He had this in his hotel room in Shanghai, and he does the old ways are better. There's a wonderful brush, there's a florist soap, there's some aftershave, straight edge razor, comes in this beautiful crocodile box, etc. It's a Donovo razor, by the way. Yeah, very nice. But this isn't very practical. I mean, there are parts of this that you could take on an airplane, but this is Bond, right? I mean, you know, we saw him also in Live and Let Die. He's got some wonderful things, including some snake flamethrowers. Who knew? In his Dopp kit. So we see little hints, little moments of James Bond's Dopp kit. And we play this game, right? We go into our heads and we say, okay, so, you know, he was in his apartment, in his flat in London, and he's going off an adventure, and he had to pack this Dopp kit. So Bond had to get into this frame of mind of where he was going to go. So you got to think about the environment. Is it going to be warm temperatures? Is it going to be cold temperatures? How many days are you going to be away? How much do you need to pack? Are you going to be out in the sunshine? Are you not? Are you going to be inside? Will you need to shave? Are you going to give shaving a break? All these conscious decisions go into what you pack into a Dopp kit. And then it has to be practical. This may not be the most practical way to travel with your things. So you've got to think all about these aspects. And that's the fun of a Dopp kit. A Dopp kit has to be a moment where you sit back, you relax, and you think to yourself strategically, what am I going to bring with me? All right. Let's pause for a moment there, because Dopp kits themselves, before we talk about what goes in them, we've got to talk about the kit, the physical pouch. That's essentially what it is, because they're not all the same. I mean, you've got everyone's from, branded vinyl ones, obviously like this. You've got, ones that may not have the same practicality. You even have ones that sometimes airplanes give you with a couple little pieces in there that, kind of that barely survival type thing, just some simple things. You have canvas ones as well. The lining themselves have to be waterproof. But for today's discussion, we're going to do something a little bit special. We like to have a little fun, right? A little Bond experience moment. So, our good friends at Bennett Winch, we worked with them to actually curate a Dopp kit, a wash bag as they call it, one of their wash bags. And we thought to ourselves, well, hold on a second. We did that really fun review of their suitor that is absolutely in no time to die. We obviously, Paloma brings his tuxedo and suit, and we just kind of played this fantasy out that he adopted that as his luggage. So what if she had the forethought to actually pack him a Dopp kit, something that he could kind of freshen himself up before, he left his destination and went traveling around the world as Bond does. So we decided to stay with that same brand that we know is in no time to die and swing it into our brand fantasy of Bennett Winch. And we're going to be opening this up for the first time. You know something? Why don't we do that right now? Okay, so we've never opened this up. I mean, this is literally unopened, but it's kind of the fun of this all. Bennett Winch right here. We've got the two robins, which we've already talked about in our last video. And this is all handmade in England. All right, so, one of the things that you want to do when you have your Dopp kit, and this goes for Bond as well, is you want to think about that this should still be a gentlemanly moment. You've got the suitor right down here as a little bit of eyeball candy while we talk about this. You want to think that, this shouldn't just be a sack. It shouldn't be something simple. It should be a representation of you. You may be, maybe along with your spouse and a guest in your hotel room, the only one that sees these, but that's enough. It's that hidden, invisible hobby. So why shouldn't your Dopp kit, your wash bag, be just as sartorial, just as nice as you? And if you get a good one, it's the last one you ever have to buy. So let's open the box. This is a lot of fun. Truly have not opened this yet. So we're gonna bring this up and you've got I love this. I love the pomp and circumstance, of course. You've got a nice note in there. Proudly designed in our studio in London and handcrafted in England. Robin Bennett and Robin Winch. As we said, the two Robins. Get it? Love it. And we've got some tissue paper. Oh. Wait a minute. Okay, let's put this to the side. All right, we will now take this in. That was just a little bit of a bang. Don't be alarmed. All right. Okay, there we go. So I always talk about, the first impressions of things. The smell of this leather is outrageous. You've got some beautiful accents that you're seeing already. And I'll show you the bottom. Now remember what I said, the original ones were leather. So I like the fact that this one is leather too. When I talked to the gentleman over there, we talked about, do we get black, do we get brown? I thought brown would be great, kind of goes with the accent pieces of the suitor. Plus, to me, it's kind of the new Bond. It wouldn't be just black, which seems a little stoic. So we went for the brown, which again has that vintage look. I mean, this would be in place in the 1930s, 1911, as much as now. And of course, you've got the robins on here. Let's talk about the case. So their leather wash bags are really the perfect balance of form and function. It features a clip-out wet compartment for storing beard clippers, razors, anything you just want overly protected that might get a little bit wet. It's got a zip secured internal pocket. The grain of the leather is a Tuscan leather, but the inside itself is an Italian nylon. So it really uses the correct materials to make this working. It's got a RIRI brass zipper, some really solid brass hardware, and wide mouth opening for easy access. And what's nice about it is it's handmade in England with a lot of care. All right, so now that we've curated kind of the perfect Dopp kit, again, I'm pretty addicted to the smell of this leather. We're going to be talking about what we put in here. Now, we talked about some of the Bond aspects. We're going to show you some crossovers, some things that we feel that absolutely Bond would put into their Dopp kit, but I'm also going to be talking about mine. These pieces that go into the Dopp kit have not been sponsored. We didn't receive any of them for free. These are things that I've used on my journeys and travels. And as we hopefully get closer to realizing that we will be traveling again, it's important to talk about these things, the things that we find work, but also get organized into the Dopp kit itself. So let's jump right in. All right, right off the bat, we'll talk about some basics that we want to put into our Dopp kit. And again, these are ones that I favor, but there are some wonderful crossovers. First of all, you've got this Marvis toothpaste. Now, I know this isn't Colgate or Crest or anything like this, but this is something that Bond might use, and I started trying it. This is a nice travel size as well. It's got a really great minty flavor, and I know that you would like something like this. Again, very Bondish. Now, we could have a disposable toothbrush. I'll tell you what I've adopted just out of like pure convenience. This is something called a Quip. And again, very interesting, super lightweight. It's got this nice brass copper colored, a nice long head on it, but it's a very soft bristle. But what's very cool about this is the little stand becomes a waterproof cap when you travel, and it's incredibly light. I need something very light when I travel. So this is half the weight of a regular toothbrush. You can also use this backing right here. Now this is very cool. This is like a little suction cup that if you're traveling to different cities and you want to put this up in the bathroom to let it dry, you just suck it up on the mirror or the side and boom, you're ready to go. But otherwise, it's ready to travel with you, which is fantastic. So talk about basics. I mean, this is just some simple deodorant. This is Wild Rose Deodorant by Weleda. Now, why am I showing you this? First of all, this is half the size of the stuff in my cabinet. I like to get these travel size bottles, little ways that we can go. And this will actually last me, oh gosh, it's half full right now. It'll last me at least a week or more. And trust me, I will smell nice. And I know it's rose, but this is something that they used rose scents way back in the early 1900s and continued to. So it's a fine floral scent, but it's very subtle and it travels extremely well with us. Now here's a little hint. Now I don't have anything like that fancy straight edge razor because a straight edge razor or even just a razor type of shaver will knock you out of getting on a plane. So what I do is I put in my shaving cream. I use Ernst Supplies, which is a very small shaving company. It's a cream. It goes into these wonderful travel bottles. And you're going to see a lot of these because I live and breathe by these. They don't take up a lot of weight when they go into your Dopp kit. They're very simple. And you can see that I'm building my kit over here. I don't use anything fancy. I use a Gillette Fusion. It's disposable. It's simple. This one obviously is being used, but what I like about this is it's very lightweight, easy to change the razor and keep it on the go. I've tried many, but this one still is the standout. Now I do carry on me, again, one of these travel bottles where I have my facial cleanser. I've got some basic things to take off the soot and the grime of the day. And again, I'm putting it into a smaller version of this. This is from this same company called Ursa Major. It's an Ursa Major facial cleanser. What I like about this is they also pack them in these small little, as you can see, envelopes. So what I'll tend to do is I make a decision. Am I traveling far and wide? Well, if I'm gone for more than a few days, in goes this right here. However, if I'm going to just be overnight, I may just take one of these packets, which is actually good for 2 to 3 uses. And what's great is they give these for you free when you order your larger version, so I quite like that. Now, being in the pharmaceutical industry, yes, I pack medicine. Happily, I don't take a lot of medicine, but I will pack a couple of basic things. And what I do is I just use, an old, this is not filled with Excedrin, lest you think I have lots of headaches, but there's some Excedrin in here. There's some Advil. There may be an Aleve or two. The other thing that I have in here is charcoal tablets. The reason I have charcoal capsules or tablets is because if you have a little bit too much to drink, it helps to soak up the evils. That's a different video, but all of my medication goes into one small thing. And the other thing is, if I do have medication, I don't typically pack it in check-in luggage. It'll still be in my carry-on, but nowadays I've only been taking carry-on. If you don't like that, by the way, you can get these, which are these tiny little capsule holders that you can get at any drugstore. They are cheap. They're 25, 50 cents a piece. Sometimes they come into a large packet, and you could just start packing up all of your medication. But please, please, please keep that separate from the rest of your luggage. Now, when I do travel for hair cream, I don't like to use liquid. I actually bring this paste. This is the paste that I use regularly anyway. It's a surf paste. It's fantastic. It's from Balm. It adds a little bit of protection if you're out in the sun as well, and I don't have very long hair, so it's perfect. But what's nice about it is it's very flat. It actually comes in a smaller unit as well that I can use for travel, but more importantly, it's a paste. It's not going to show up as liquid, so it passes muster very easily. Now, of course, traveling, I may want to freshen up a little bit, may want a tiny scent. So typically I like, the Tom Ford, the Tobacco Vanille. I also like the Florist, the 7172 Turnbull and Asser. They're very bondish, but more importantly, when I wanted to talk about this, I'm not going to take something this big. First of all, if it opens up in my luggage, everything smells like that, possibly even the whole plane. So what I do is I actually have this. It is a travel atomizer. Again, you get them in the same place that you would everything else. And what you do is you literally squirt a couple squirts, 10, 12 squirts of your favorite. I think I have Tobacco Vanillin right here. It's very lightweight, passes muster on the liquid, but essentially what you do is when you want to freshen up, you use this. By the way, all of my travel pieces like this are plastic. I don't like glass. I think glass is a little bit more interesting, dare I say old world, but the problem with glass is it's glass. So we'll put this aside because that's going to be our travel version of these. So when you are traveling, you can go very bond. For example, you could pack something as light as this little sampler from Floris, or Floris has this Gentleman's Floris from London. This is a moisturizer. I wouldn't typically use this on my face because it is fragranced, but you can use it around your neck and shoulders to also create a nice fresh scent. To me, it starts to take up a lot of room though, and we're trying to keep this nice and tight so it all fits in here comfortably, so we'll have to put this to the side. I have to tell you, when I see these Dopp kit videos, it's very interesting how they don't talk about the basics. So for example, I always take a tweezer with me, a very simple tweezer. Not only is it good for a stray hair, but if you get a splint or anything like that, this is kind of the only surgical tool you need in many cases. You can't bring knives anymore, so this really acts as a lifesaver. I've used it on almost every single trip. Q-tips, and not just one, this is just to show you right now, but don't forget your Q-tips. Don't assume that your hotel room's going to have it. I bring some earplugs just in case. They fold up in their own little package. You can get them free on most airplanes. And for teeth cleaning, we talked about the toothbrush, but I'll usually bring a tongue scraper and one of these tools. This is very cool. So this is basically, obviously to get food out of your teeth, but it also acts as a pick, and it's coated in mint. Yes, so it's like a mint pick, and it's great for cleaning out teeth. Will probably last about a week for really good cleaning, or you can bring multiple ones for usage. Now, I mentioned Ursa Major before. One of the things I wanted to show you is this. I use this almost religiously. I'm 52 years old. I need a moisturizer. If you don't need a moisturizer, you're kind of fooling yourself. You will eventually need a moisturizer. And the airplanes rob you of moisture. And no matter where you're traveling, whether it's Arizona or Sweden, you need moisture on your face, especially after you shave, even with this beard that I have. So this actually has carrot candy in it. It's 2.5 ounces. It passes muster. It fits in here nicely. However, what's great is, again, as I mentioned, they give you these little travel size ones as well, which is good for about 2 to 3 uses. So sometimes what I'll do is, if it's a quick hit, I'll just take this. If I'm on a longer trip, I'll bring my longer one. And you can see we're kind of building up all of our things. The other thing that Ursa Major makes is a face wipe. And I know I'm sounding like a, a poster child for Ursa Major, but they really did take travel in mind. This is very thin. You put a couple of these into your carry-on bag or into your backpack. And what it is it's an all-purpose wipe. It's gentle enough to use on your face. You can use it under your underarms to get a little bit of the stank off of you. It actually kills microbials. It's phenomenal. And it cleans, exfoliates, it soothes, it hydrates, it reboots you. You know, it takes tired, dulled, oily skin. Yes, I'm reading the back of this. And it just boosts you up. So this comes 10 to a pack. I get a bunch of these. I just throw them in there, forget I have them until I need them, and just pull them out. Keeps it really simple. Folks, lest you thought I was not going to be a completist, this is Mango Kiss. What is Mango Kiss? Well, I've tried a lot of lip balms. Lip balms are really important. Again, it's that hydration of your lips. They really adhere to different types of moisturizers than just the facial moisturizers. You know this already, but this one is all natural. It's got mangongo oil, I kid you not. And this is a peppermint, which gives you kind of a little bit of a little perk, a little aroma therapy. I put this in here. Honestly, I take 2 of these with me because I put one into whatever bag I'm taking on the plane and one in my Dopp kit. And this way, I've got it in the bathroom. I've got them at different places because lip moisturization, that's where you start to see the age, is around the lips. Okay, so now that we have the parts and pieces that go into our Dopp kit, we actually have to organize everything. Now, what's really cool about this one is you can keep it buttoned on the side like this, or to create a wide mouth opening, or you can actually create a wider mouth opening by undoing the sides. This has a lot of utility to it, which is why I also thought it would be perfect assuming Bond would use this. Not only does it have all those interesting pockets that we showed you before, gosh, I'm smelling that leather, but it also has a lot of utility. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our interior waterproof bag. And again, Italian nylon, the whole thing is waterproof, but I'm going to take things like my shaver. I'm going to take things like my shaving cream, a lot of the more very liquidy stuff, even this spray underarm. I'm actually going to take my atomizer. So you can see I'm putting quite a bit in here. And you know what? I'm going to put my facial liquid in here because these are the ones that are the most liquidy. And this is going to add a double layer of protection. Do you imagine Bond? And I'm going to be snapping it in here. This is so cool how this all snaps together. Can you imagine Bond going on a mission? M sends him on a mission. And suddenly his entire Dopp kit, his wash bag, explodes in glory. Just puts a stop to everything. Talk about destroying the free world. All right, so now we want to put things in. And you're saying to yourself, well, okay, David, just chuck it all in. No, try to be a little bit more organized this. So what you can do is, I wasn't going to put things that have a larger base on the bottom. Think about when you pack luggage. When you pack luggage, you tend to pack the heavier things on the bottom, right? Makes sense. And some of the flatter things to create a foundation. Think of this as building a miniature house on the inside of your Dopp kit. So as we build this miniature house, I'm going to start to put some of the flat pieces in here, start to build it out. Some of the harder pieces, the things that don't get smushed. And now I'm left with my small accoutrements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those small pieces. I'm actually going to separate the toothbrush and toothpaste just so I can kind of get to it. And this has an interior pocket. The interior pocket here is where I'm going to put these small pieces, the things that can kind of get lost at the bottom. They can get a little cruddy, and I don't want them to get cruddy. So the smaller items I'm going to be putting in here. Now, let me tell you what's happened just organically as I've packed my Dopp kit. I've pretty much put everything that I would need for a pretty significant trip in here, including size. So I'm assuming that there'll be shampoo at the hotel. I did not pack shampoo. I might pack shampoo if I was going internationally, but mostly I have everything in here. As I close this and as I button the sides, let me tell you what's happened. I have only filled this up, I kid you not, about a third of the way. But that's not a bad thing, because I've seen Dopp kits, including mine, that were bowling over. This one is not. So what happens is, check this out, you can actually pack it pretty flat. And that's, if you remember good old Charles Dopplet, that's what he had in mind, for this to turn into kind of a brick, a leather, a leather brick that you could pack in your luggage that wouldn't get everything out of whack and would keep you organized, and your luggage, the rest of the luggage, dry. And that's exactly what you have. All right. So we've taken you through the adventure of the history of the Dopp kit / wash bag. We took you across some of the different forms of the Dopp kit itself, the outside, and some of the pieces that you've seen me and possibly Bond might choose. Now it's up to you. Go take a look and do something very interesting. Audit your Dopp kit. Yes, I'm saying audit, like in a tax audit. Go check out what's in there. Are there things along the bottom? Is it cruddy? And the other thing, make sure that you wipe out your Dopp kit after every trip. In other words, take pride in your Dopp kit. Think about it as a Bond experience or a Bond moment. Turn it into the very genuinely lost art of really thinking and consciously thinking about all the things you're traveling with. This is your bathroom. This is your sartorial, this is your foundation of who you're going to be. And those small gentlemanly moments when maybe the kids are screaming or you're really at Disney and not on a mission, it's an escape. And so packing it the right way, using the right things is everything. All right. Well, thanks for joining me on this trip. We'll revisit this in our packing video coming up in the future, but that's then, this is now, and this has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. We'll see you real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.